Okay, time to start with c4. See if we get an English here. Kappa 30. Sai plays the principled response, the reverse Sicilian with e5. I'm going to try and get a Botvinnik setup. He breaks right away in the center, so let's take. And develop the bishop. Just no longer a Botvinnik setup. Too many things have been traded off, and the pawns are not on the right squares anymore. So if I play knight f6, I guess he will go, knight f3, I guess he will go e5 right away. So let's push the d pawn first. Guess I'll just develop in castle. I have bishop to g5 here at some point, hitting the queen. Okay, let's ask him if he really intends to trade. Does he really want to trade? No, not really. I thought not. So bishop g5, he could just play f6, and his bishop is guarding this diagonal pretty nicely. This pawn is well defended already in any case. I could do knight g5, with the idea of coming back to e4. Yeah, it seems to make sense in this position. I want to get my dark squared bishop developed, but I wasn't sure where to put it, and this move looks attractive. Sometimes, if there's no immediate danger, you can play a few moves before developing a piece. So the knight can hop back to e4, and he can kick it with f5. I have the queen check here if he does that, though. Let's start by pushing the a-pawn forward, though. Gain a little space on the queen side. Open up the idea of bishop to a3 as a possibility. So, yeah, he forces the knight back. And it gets to this good square where I wanted it to, so I'm not unhappy with that. Yeah, so now I have the queen check. I think I should throw that in, even though I can't immediately exploit it, like grabbing a pawn here, because my knight is hanging. Just wondering if there was something I could do here. So his knight maybe is coming to a5 to hit my queen. That's a possibility. Or maybe he just plays simply b6. Or rook b8. Okay. So if I play bishop a3 now, does this accomplish anything? I don't especially want to take his knight. I would just bring his bishop to a good diagonal. I could play my knight to c5. That actually looks good. Knight c5, because it's hitting the e-pawn here, which is a little bit under-defended at the moment. Not totally under-defended, but a little bit. The knight's defending it. So bishop takes, knight takes. Would win a pawn at the cost of giving him a great bishop. Or bishop takes, pawn takes. And I don't win the pawn, but I do mess up his pawn structure a little bit. So he's threatening, after moving the f-pawn forward, to take on h3. The queen and the bishop are lined up on h3, and it's under defended. But I can just block here. Keep him from pushing the f-pawn forward. Try to hold it back. And take with the bishop here. I guess he can play g5 if he's in that kind of attacking mood here. Well, I got my bishop out finally. Get all your pieces developed. That's the rule. Yeah, I noticed he could play that pin. And I can't move my knight with a check. I can move it with a threat to his queen. So knight here, bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, but then he just takes my knight. So it's just another way, a fancy way of losing a piece. So yeah, it looks like this will mess up my pawns. I'll move my queen somewhere to unpin. He will just take the knight. If I don't move my queen, though, he has the threat of knight to a5. And that'll force some action, and we'll even win a pawn there. So let's step back here. I might want to take this knight and double his pawns over here. And I don't want my queen to be in the glare of his rook when that happens. He has the check here. I can block with the pawn. Given a move, I can play knight to e5. That looks like a nice way to gang up here on the queen side and look to the king side at the same time. I'll probably trade it off. Kicks the bishop first. Okay. So I can move the bishop with check. He takes, I take. And I will have a pretty good looking knight there. If he takes. He could just move his king. But yeah, it's tempting. A lot of players would go for the knight. Go for the bishop, I mean. Go for that trade. Okay, so let's blockade over here like this. He was threatening to take the h-pawn again. Maybe again is the wrong way to say that. So the knight can come back to f3. That's a reasonable spot for it. It's blockading the pawn and hitting the g-pawn. Check here doesn't do anything. Coming back here, it gets traded. I mean, I could defend it on that square as well, but don't particularly see the value in that at the moment. So I've got an extra center pawn or two, although this e-pawn is backward, so it's hard to count it. He has all his pawns on the wing. Just looking at this pawn. But what if I just push, 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 push? Or maybe rook rook e1 and pawn to e4. If he takes en passant, I'll get rid of this annoying thorn in my position here, although it'll open up this diagonal for his bishop. And I can take back with the rook. You know, he didn't defend. How long has that been there? Oh, I just moved here. Okay, it was my first chance. He did not defend. Did not defend the g-pawn. I guess I have to take it. It's almost an imperative. That was an important pawn in this position. It's not just a pawn grab, it's destabilizing the f-pawn, loosening his king position, hitting the bishop. Yeah, I almost let that go by. I almost didn't notice that. You kind of assume when you threaten something, your opponent will attack it, and you look for your next move. But you should probably notice when your opponent fails to respond as you expect. Okay, so what's going on here? I can push this pawn forward, but it doesn't really threaten h7 there. I don't know, is that a scam? He's got it pretty well defended. Let's bring my other rook to the center. I think that is where the action is. This knight maybe will come back to e4 instead of f3. But I'm still thinking of playing pawn to e4 and going on to e5. Just pushing back this bishop. That would be nice. And maybe getting on this diagonal with my queen towards his king. His king has no moves. Okay, so now he hits my knight. I have to decide. What is the square to go to? Let's go here. If I go to f3, I can push the e-pawn, but here I can attack his bishop. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like he will manage to get onto the e-file one way or another. I'm going to start pushing these pawns forward in the center, though. Maybe queen, now that these pawns are pretty solid, I could play queen to, and what is that, e2? d2. Queen d2 hitting the f-pawn might be a thing to do here. Yeah, if I can just win that pawn, that's much better than outright. Actually, I could have just taken it. Could have taken it right here when he put the bishop there. Well, I still get it. I still get the pawn because he cannot bring two pieces to defend it in one move. Yeah, a little bit. I'm a little bit off lately. Missing things like that. Oh, you saw in the last game, I missed two queen forks. Two forks with the queen that would fork the king with a check and a piece. One against me and one for me. Okay, so he goes there. Let's go ahead and, I guess he wants to trade. I'm thinking that pawn is not so important. It's better to have these pawns in the center is what I'm thinking. And doubling, if he lets me. on the F file. He can stop that by trading, of course. He could trade and then play rook to F8. But he grabbed the pawn. Yeah, I'm gonna double. I'm gonna take control of that F file. I'm gonna move a little faster now that my time is getting lower. This pawn on D4, it shields my king along this diagonal. That was a nice benefit of that. I was just thinking of shielding the pawns from this queen and pushing things off that dark squared diagonal. Okay, so I can move my knight with tempo here. Can I just trade everything? Rook takes rook. He could take back with the bishop, but say he takes with the rook. I take again. Then he would take back with the queen. And, you know, none of those trades bring the queen into my line of fire there. I want to play something. There's a problem here with, well, the knight is guarding that square. Okay. Still, I'm worried about bishop to G5 there. And trading the knight, yeah, that would have been an idea. Trade the knight off and then play bishop G5. Would have been an idea for black there. So you want to move faster, but maybe not too fast. So now if he takes the knight, I'll take back with the bishop, queen and bishop focused on here. I need another piece I can bring in, but I wonder if I can get away with pawn to H4. Pawn to H4 and knight to G5 is what I want to play, I think. But probably not something I can do. Maybe I can play this pawn forward to D5. I like that idea. Let's get it going. Yeah, now he's looking at bringing the bishop here and pinning my knight in the other direction. So momentarily this rook is cut off and I can take, and he will take back with the bishop. Let's go ahead and do that. And now, can I move this knight somewhere? Somewhere better, I mean. So queen here attacks the bishop. One, two, three, four, five. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 5 to 4 with pawns in the center. If we go to an endgame, though, those pawns will be on the wing. It'll be a problem. So I really want to do something active here. Knight to D6 looks good. E6, knight E6. I can take that. I can't take it. Darn. Darn, darn, darn. Yeah, it's tough to play games with this little time. I still want to play knight e6. He doesn't have the check because my knight is guarding that square. That's important. Because otherwise my knight is loose. Now he has the check, but I have an idea. If he plays it, I'll just move my king. So I put the queen there. So I wanted to trade queens here and go for that endgame. I'm going to take my chances on the endgame. I could have grabbed the pawn. Could have grabbed the pawn, maybe. No, I lose the bishop. Just a problem in moving fast enough here. Yeah. Shoot, he's faster than I am. He's faster than I am. Okay, well, he played a good game, so I'm going to resign there. And, well, check this out in the postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.